Welcome everyone to my office, such as it is today, a little different than normal. I am so excited to introduce you to a new acquaintance of mine that very interesting story we're going to get into today. Very interesting look we're going to go into. This is Matt Mulica. Did I say that right, Matt?
Yeah, you did.
I did. First shot. Well, hey, you never know. Matt, without me spoiling anything, why don't you tell our listeners who you are?
Sure. So I'm Matthew Mulica. I'm the facilitator of the Honeybee Health Coalition. I work for an organization called the Keystone Policy Center. And so we're a nonprofit that works on difficult issues. And so declining bee health certainly fits the bill. I work in a lot of natural resources areas and also agriculture.
Wow. Well, that's a mouthful. You know what? You know that I sent an email to Honeybee Health Coalition, and you're who that popped up and answered me, and I was so intrigued by the fact that there is a group that helps the Honeybee Health Coalition, and that's you, the Keystone Project, to a policy center. Did I say that right? I want to
Yeah,
make sure.
Keystone Policy Center.
Okay, so you help them out. What is what kind of exactly what are you doing for them other than like problem solvers? So you're doing this interview with me today. So
Yeah,
you're the liaison? What is
I'm the facilitator.
this?
And so we convened this group back in 2014 and did an assessment of, there's so much good work going on in different organizations working to improve pollinator health. And so, we brought together people, did an assessment, did a bunch of interviews, and determined that there was really no one working at the intersection of agriculture and beekeeping. So no one had brought together the beekeepers with the crop associations and agribusiness and research organizations and government agencies, all these nonprofits working on this in this space. And so we convened everyone to, see, is there something we can do together that perhaps you all can't do individually?
Wow,
And so
that's incredible.
that's what we do, is we bring people together to organize them and to work on problems.
And in turn, that makes everything work so much more efficiently. Um, what a great spot you're in, and what you're getting to see is incredible, because we really, since 2014, have seen a lot going on in this industry. Beekeeping has, back with the onslaught of the Varroa mite, which I'm segueing into where we're going to go with some of this, because you got some pretty awesome news on that front, is that without the Honeybee Health Coalition, I'm not quite sure where our industry would be right now. And I don't think that I'm overstretching that at all. The tools that it has afforded us, particularly with Varroa mite, foul brood we'll talk about here in a minute as well, is just incredible. It's not able to be duplicated. So
Thank you. That's a great compliment. I really appreciate that. We work really hard on those materials.
Well, we've been instructors for a long time, and there's probably not a single program out of my bank and programs that the Honeybee Health Coalition is not mentioned, and a link to your website. It's incredible.
Wow, great.
So something you told me in our original talking was that, and this is what got me excited, is that we just had a major update to the Varroa guide. Can you tell me what that, for our listeners and our readers, because that's a big deal. We put this in their throats almost every month about Varroa, Varroa, Varroa. What is the update that came out in the new Varroa guide?
Yeah, so that we hadn't updated the guide since 2018, and there had been a lot of products for Varroa control that were, had been registered since that. You had just various products that had, that had new formulations, new chemistries, same active ingredients, but that they were changed. And so we spent about 8 months with a subgroup, a team of researchers and beekeepers entomologists, and we did a complete overhaul of the Tools for Varroa Management Guide, and that came out August 1st of 2022. And so there's been learnings that have happened in how to control Varroa. The same alcohol wash and sugar shake. Of course, many things haven't changed, but we wanted to make sure that we gave a complete refresh on this document and made it as accurate as possible. And that's the 8th edition. And so there is, since it came out in 2015, I think.
I believe God did, yes.
Yeah, then we've updated it quite a few number of times, and this was probably our biggest overhaul since it's been a few years.
Well, and it's necessary to do that because, like you said, well, not only the chemicals that are chemical or non-chemical, the methods that we use as beekeepers to control Varroa, that not only that aspect of it, but the directions may change. Things adapt, and y'all are adapting with it, is what you're saying. And some of those treatments have become ineffective, and being able to adjust that as we go along is truly it's a benefit to us, and we are thrilled to see the updated version. I want to just give you another plug, because those that aren't familiar with the actual site itself, the Varroa Guide is truly a be-all, end-all. You go in and you open that, it almost looks like a PDF, right, Matt, that you download, but there's clickables in it, and you've got videos, and you've got the how-tos. It's a totally interactive guide that tells beekeepers all about Varroa and how to deal with them.
Yeah, it's been kind of an evolution. We came out with the first edition of the Varroa Guide, and as I was out at beekeeping events, beekeepers said, this is wonderful, but it's still really complicated. Can you show us how to do some of these things? And so we created 12 videos, and those videos are linked throughout the document. And then, a year or two later, I was out at these bee events again, and they said it's still really complicated. And so we came up with a decision support tool. And so that's, you answer 5 questions, and it can tell you what you need, what options you have, both chemical and non-chemical, to treat Varroa, depending on where your brood is, whether you have honey supers on, what stage your hive is in, whether you're we'll do synthetic or just organic compounds in your hive. So you answer these questions, and then it pops out your answers.
And how great is that to be able to plug in? And it's really ironic that you brought up the decision tool, because I had made a note of that, because prior to that coming out, my husband and I that teach as well, we developed our own tool. We called it the 3 Ps: preference, population, and product. And we had only had it kind of live going to help the same thing that you were doing, but it wasn't near as interactive. It was basically just you have to answer these questions 1, 2, and 3, and y'all did it. Absolutely, the decision tool is a wonderful tool where you just plug in these, it asks you the right questions, plug it in, and it comes up and tells you, you can use this now because we're in this population and these temperatures, and here's your product availability. And it's incredibly good. So we use it, we promote it, it all works good. And I'm thrilled about it. Really interested in the foul brood guide, though. This is not something that we often talk about because it's so much tied to the beginner aspect of it. We do talk about foul brood, but tell me about you called it an update to the foul brood guide. Tell me what it is first. What are y'all doing in that foul brood guide for the
so it's for beekeepers and also for veterinarians. And so with the vet feed directive, beekeepers couldn't just get antibiotics without a prescription first from a veterinarian. Veterinarians were not trained in providing prescriptions for beekeepers. And so it's beekeeper focused, but also vet focused. And it goes through American foul brood and European foul brood, and how to detect foul brood and what to do if you have it. And so it goes through all of the rules and regulations and what you have to do. And this was a pretty major update once again. And that'll be released. It just got out of graphic design, and so that'll be released here within a week. So you heard it here first.
Heard it here first. We're breaking news, right, man?
Breaking news, yeah.
That's great. Well, foul brood it's a big deal. It's not as common. Of course, American foul brood, thankfully, is not as common as it was many years ago, and so therefore it's a very, very important for our beekeepers to know the real legitimacy of it and the severity of American foul brood. The two are, even though they both hold that foul brood terminology, one is detrimental and one is workable. American foul brood is terrible and we have to destroy our hives in essence. European foul brood's fixable. So having a guide like what y'all have provided and now updating this coming week is huge, is really huge, because I wouldn't want to make the mistake as a beekeeper of confusing the two. I need to be able to discern which I've got. What are your thoughts on those? And I may, if I'm catching you off guard, because I didn't think about this question, and it's okay to say I don't know, on the test methods that we have available to us in our industry is basically a foul brood test. Do y'all have any studies on that, the efficacy of that and its legitimacy, as far as really giving a good answer and for a beekeeper?
We recommend the Vita test kit, but there's also other ways that you can detect foul brood just by visual inspection. And so we don't do research. We do some facilitate a group on finding the next Varroa side. We know that Amitraz resistance is real and it's increasing, and so we're really racing against Amitraz resistance. So we do facilitate a research team on finding the next great Varroa side. But beyond that, we don't do any efficacy testing on whether the products work. But we do have experts that have made the recommendation, and here are a variety of ways to tell if you have EFB or AFB. And so I think that all of the best tools that we have at our disposal are listed in that foul brood guide.
Well, that's good to know, and I probably knew that. It's research is a totally different animal. It's away from what your logistics of your organization. Project
APIS-M is really on the leading edge, as well as the U.S. government and USDA.
Truly,
as well as the universities.
Aren't they though? I spend a great deal of my world doing research, and I can tell you that I do love the universities as my resource. Those kids, and we'll call them kids because I'm old, are doing a great job of their dissertations and their thesis. Their studies are incredible. You touched on something, and I'm gonna jump back a little bit on it and talk about Amitraz and the lack of efficacy we're getting now because of the resistance we're going. We're in hindsight, Coumaphos fell into that category, and it's very important for beekeepers to know how important Honeybee Health Coalition is, just for that, if anything, to keep us up to date on what is effective and what isn't anymore, because Varroa resistance is a deal. We're going to continue to see this for many, many years to come. Don't you agree? As things,
I do. Yeah, it's tragedy of the commons, right? And so if we keep on overusing Amitraz and making home mixes and not following the label and using the right dosages, increasing the dosage and frequency of Amitraz use as it becomes less effective is a pure recipe for resistance. And that's exactly what happened with Cumulphos and others. And so we also have a commercial Varroa guide now that came out that is for larger scale beekeepers. And we go through 6 case studies of large beekeepers that don't use off-label amitraz, and they have a financially viable operation. These are big operations, so it can be done. We're certainly not demonizing off-label amitraz use. We know it's a savior of the industry, but we have to figure out some kind of path to some kind of off-ramp so that increasing dosage and frequency isn't become the norm, and we just drive amitraz into the ground.
Right. Is that available, the commercial Varroa that you just talked about? Is that available to
Yes.
the public? Where do we find that?
honeybeehealthcoalition.org/Varroa.
Oh, so it is on there as well.
Yeah, yep. It's on the same page as our videos and our decision support tool, and of course the Varroa guide. So all of our rural resources are on that page. I wouldn't mind turning quickly to, we do provide information and materials for beekeepers, but we also provide information for farmers. And so we have best management practice guides, which is basically what the Varroa guide is, for apple growers and soybean, corn, and canola farmers. We also have a module for pesticide applicators. And that is used for when pesticide applicators have to be recertified every 3 years, they can take this 1-hour module as part of their credits.
Wow.
So how do you protect bees and have productive crops? I think the secret sauce of the Honeybee Health Coalition is, we feel like if we can have it all, that if beekeepers and growers are implementing the right practices, that we can have healthy bees and healthy crops.
Well, it is a partnership, truly. It has to work. It's there's always going to be pesticides, and we're going to need farmers and pesticides and beekeepers. Everybody's going to have to work hand in hand, and that's what you're doing. You're just getting everybody locked arms and communicating and being a resource for that. That's very good.
It's an interesting time back in 2014 in bringing people together. As a professional, I'm a mediator. That's what I do. So I do, manage and facilitate the Honeybee Health Coalition, but it's also a mediation. It's also figuring out how these groups with different interests, can work together, and we can all get marching in the same direction.
Well, the overall goal is to have healthy, thriving bees that can pollinate crops, and farmers be able to know what they're doing right, and guidance to make sure that the honeybee, the pollinators, let's just go broad here, are helping them, because it's a partnership between the farmers and the pollinators as well. Mm-hmm. And when none of us are doing our due diligence, it's none of it going to work properly.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we do the same thing. I run another group called Farmers for Monarchs. And so if you ever are interested in monarchs, check out farmersformonarchs.org, and you can learn about what we're doing at that similar intersection with agriculture and monarch butterfly nonprofits and the U.S. government, bring people together to work on these important issues. Well,
our industry, albeit beekeeping, we're nature lovers. So anything monarch butterflies or any kind of agriculture is interesting to us. As we see the progression, the Varroa has only been around a very short period of time. My little catchphrase is, my daughter is older than Varroa to Apis mellifera, and she's not old. So, we're almost in, I don't want to say infant years of controlling Varroa, but we're definitely in the juvenile end of it, maybe teenage years of coming up with products that we can eventually, either the adaptation of our queens, the genetics to control this bug that lives on our bug that's so detrimental, to all of these things that the future holds. The Honeybee Health Coalition, I believe with all of my heart, is going to follow that through. Even though the Varroa has been around since the mid 80s, and we're talking 2014 when y'all jumped in, I really believe that we're going to see you for a lot of years to come. Don't you agree?
I do. Yeah. It's a strong coalition. We have 52 member organizations, and we're going to keep on, working together to help improve bee health.
I think that sounds wonderful. The best, I want two other points I want to bring up off my notes is you mentioned the best management practices. I've done multiple articles based on the Honeybee Health Coalition's best management practices for beekeeping, and it's incredible. Anyone that hasn't looked at it, it truly is a start to finish of how to do everything right, pay attention, safety, of all things is in there. Everything of what you're supposed to do, what your responsibility is, animal husbandry end of it down to the logistics of it. All of your resources other than, the canola, all of those. Anyone that's interested should go on your website and look those up because they are incredible. And the last thing I want to say is I hear you've got some bees coming and you're going to become a beekeeper.
Yeah, I just got all my equipment last week, and the bee, I'm waiting for a rainy day to move the hives over from a gentleman who will be my mentor up here in the high country of Colorado, and he got to a point where he was moving into a different place and couldn't keep the bees anymore, but still wanted to be involved. And so we're moving his 2 hives onto my land, and we're gonna get the children some small bee suits and really make it a family affair.
That's
There's
wonderful.
a lot to learn. I've been in this for since 2014. Bee health and beekeeping, they go hand in hand, but there's a lot to learn. I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, I admire you for doing that, and having your family part of it, Matt, is the best part of it because it is a family oriented hobby, and there's so much they can learn, and it puts nature right in their lap, and such a sense of responsibility and accountability and what they can achieve when healthy hives bring you honey. So what a wonderful project you're embarking on. And I do know, wink, wink, of a good resource for you. It's called Texas Bee Supply Monthly Magazine. That it's going to be a wonderful resource for you and the kids as well, your whole family, to learn from, to really and truly let us help y'all learn on all the attributes of it.
That just sounds amazing.
You're going to love it. You're going to love it. And I'm so happy. Welcome to the industry. And even when you start off this big, you're going to get good at it. And bees are good at making more bees. So don't think you're stopping at 2 hives. Matt, I just thank you so much for giving us a window into Honeybee Health Coalition and the continuing, looking forward, the future of it. And you're part of it. You're part of the Keystone Policy Center of how you are really and truly making sense of all of it and you're the facilitating all of it. We thank you as an industry. We thank you for your job, a job well done.
Well, thank you. And thanks for all you all do. And for all the beekeepers out there, you really keep us going by just utilizing the materials that we're providing for free. And so keep it up. We'll keep our end up. We'll do our best. And I really appreciate the time today.
Well, thanks for letting us come into your world, and we appreciate you coming. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks.